Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, is it 4th? June 4th today, I believe. And we have, am I right on that?
Third.
I think it's the third.
Third.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's June 3rd. And we have a great guest lined up for today. I'm really excited. Crystal is a registered dietitian, and she has a passion for helping people with adrenal fatigue and gut issues and reversing diabetes and weight loss. There's a whole host of things that she helps people with. And so I'm excited that she's going to be speaking with us today about reversing diabetes. And this, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the start of kind of an overview of a course that you're going to be providing starting sometime in July. Is that correct?
Yes, it'll be more like mid-August, but I started my own practice last year and like last summer. And I was praying about it, didn't know where to start as, your first go. And I've always liked diabetes because as complicated as it is, it can also be reversed in over like 95% of cases. And so I'm fascinated by that. And so I decided to start with diabetes, and I've had so much feedback and people wanting to, work with me on reversing diabetes that I thought, it'd be a lot easier if it was just a program. And then, of course, you get community, like group stuff involved. There's more, you get more out of it whenever you're alongside people who are on the same journey. And so, yes, I'm working on making this into a program so I can help more people and at one time, basically. So.
Well, that's exciting. Well, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, and I'm excited to hear what you're going to share with us today. Thank you for being here.
Sure. Well, hello, everyone. I am Crystal Chester, and I'm just going to introduce myself real quick. I practice clinically. Is everybody here in Tennessee, Brian?
No.
We get people all over? Okay. For you, the locals, I work at Stonecrest Medical Center in Smyrna, and it's just a small hospital, and that's where I do more of the clinical stuff, and I really like that part too. But my passion lies in helping people not get to the hospital. About diabetes, we can just dive in there. First, I want to preface by saying there are two types of diabetes. There's type 1, which is where the immune system attacks the beta cells in the pancreas that produce insulin. And they still don't know what exactly causes type 1 diabetes, but it has been linked to many different things. Genetically modified foods, viruses, spinal injury, vaccine, and even certain foods like conventional wheat and dairy and soy products. And unfortunately, people with type 1 have to have lifelong supplementation with insulin just because there's no cure right now for that. I mean, you can get a pancreas transplant, but that's like your only option for type 1s. Type 2 is simply characterized by uncontrolled high blood sugar, and that's the one we're talking about today. And that's the one that's far more common. Over 90 to 95% of diabetics are type 2 diabetics, and that's the one that's reversible. And you can get off all meds and, live without even worrying about diabetes, actually. But another reason why diabetes irks me so much, and I'm kind of fascinated by diabetes, is that according to the CDC, almost 26 million Americans have diabetes, and almost 1 in 4 people have pre-diabetes. And I would even think it's even more than that, because not everybody goes to the doctor all the time. And that's just the people who we know go to the doctor and get that checked on an annual basis. And over time, the past 20 years or so, we've not only seen heart disease on the rise, but we've seen diabetes on the rise. And if we're a country that knows so much about food, we're obviously doing something wrong. And you guys all have heard it. For the longest time, we've been on this change everything from white to wheat, have a diet rich in whole grains, go low fat. Well, finally, they're starting to say, okay, that low fat thing was a bad idea. And for good reason, because now heart disease is through the roof. And the whole reason they did that whole low fat thing was because they felt that saturated fat would clog your arteries. So what do we need to do? We need to get rid of all saturated fat. No more eggs, no more nuts, no more coconut oil, all the good stuff. So what happened is that we all started, because they would tell us, okay, have a have cereal in the morning and let it be only whole grain cereal. And then for lunch, have whole grain toast or a sandwich on whole grain toast. And then for snack, have whole grain crackers. And then for dinner, have whole grain pasta. And so it was just all these grains, and then we're taking out fat. And what happens when you take out fat is that the liver produces triglycerides and raises your cholesterol. Because technically, cellular wise, every cell in our body has to have cholesterol. And if we're not getting any kind of fat in our diets, well, then the body has to make it. And it actually is raising heart disease. And like talking diabetes wise, it creates glucotoxicity because we've taken out all the fats. And well, if you take out fat, then you have to replace it with something. And so they're pushing whole grains. So we replace it. And then that causes glucotoxicity. And that is where your pancreas gets worn out. It has to, every time you eat carbohydrates, your body, your glucose rises, your blood sugar rises. And so that means your pancreas has to work hard all the time to keep it down, to keep that blood sugar down. And then over time, like you can do that for a little bit, but if that's what we do for years and years and years, that means the pancreas and the beta cells wear out, and it sometimes can cause irreversible damage that way. But also when you're on glucotoxicity, hence the word toxic, you're going to be inflamed. If your body's in a toxic state, it creates stress, and stress is inflammation. And now we know, I hope you guys are able to follow this. I usually have a chart, but I know a lot of you guys are on call. But then it links to chronic inflammation because we're constantly eating these things. We're constantly eating a high carbohydrate diet. Even though we're trying to keep it like lower glycemic type carbs, it's still too much carbs. You've taken out all the fat. Your liver's doing its thing. And now we know that inflammation is the leading cause over 95% of all diseases. And so we go at reversing diabetes at a different approach to reduce inflammation. You get off inflammatory food, you reduce stress, and you reduce when you bring back in good fats. Gotta have fats. Fats and protein have no effect on your blood sugar, and it's time to incorporate that back into someone who's trying to reverse diabetes, back into their diet. The first thing that we get rid of are gluten-containing grains, because the majority of the wheat in the world now, because they have genetically modified it, and 92% of the world has jumped on board with this because it makes let me back up a little bit. They've genetically modified the seed to grow like twice as fast and in much more quantity. So when scientists first figured this out, it sounded ingenious because a farmer's job is super hard, right? They have a really tough job. And so if they could change a seed to grow so much more in such little time, that's brilliant, right? But what happened is that the gluten molecule isn't the same, and it's these wheat grains have double the gluten, and the actual molecule is like a completely different structure. Okay, and what it's causing is inflammation in the gut because we're constantly eating it. Our bodies can handle stuff like this in moderation, but whenever we eat this on a continual basis, it causes inflammation. And if your body is inflamed, under stress, you have high blood sugar. Okay, so the first thing we do is get rid of gluten-containing grains such as wheat, barley, and rye are the main ones. The second one we do is we get rid of commercial dairy, and it's mainly because of the pasteurization process. Here in the United States, we have the pasteurization process is what manufacturers do to the milk before it gets to rid it of anything that could be lurking in there before it gets to our cereal bowls. But what happens during this process is that you have to they have to hold the milk at about 150 degrees for about 30 to 45 minutes. And the proteins of milk, you guys have probably heard about whey protein. When you're looking for like a protein powder, you go for whey protein. Well, there's two proteins in milk, whey protein and casein. And during this process, casein can't withstand that high of temperature. And so it denatures it, and it causes inflammation much like wheat does. And so that's why we get rid of dairy. And dairy is actually the number one allergenic food in America, if not the world. And it's mainly linked to this pasteurization process, because it changes the structure of it too much. And, you know, we've all been encouraged, drink milk, get your vitamin D. And so we drink a lot of it, and it creates people to have a lot of allergies or intolerances to it. So we need to remove that for most individuals as well. Refined sugar, that one is kind of like a no-brainer, but it can be so sneaky because sugar is addicting. Okay. Like a study last year said that sugar is more addicting than cocaine, because they had an experiment with lab rats. And on one side they had cocaine, and on one side they had like Oreo cookies. And the rats went more to the Oreos instead of, you know, getting stimulated as much as they did as cocaine. And so manufacturers know that. They know that sugar is addicting, so they put it in a lot of their products. I've seen as much as like 2 teaspoons, in a piece of bread. Of course, like salad dressings and barbecue sauces and, you know, all of that. They just sneak it in there. And so if you're eating anything in a package, you're probably eating a lot more sugar than you think you are. And then there's other things like agave nectar. Agave nectar actually spikes your blood sugar, much like high fructose corn syrup does. You know, it's hard when it comes to sugar, because you might think, well, I don't ever eat fruit, or, you know, that kind of stuff. But no, they sneak it in there, man. They're quite talented when it comes to that. And artificial sweeteners as well, because, you know, for the longest time you've known, you know, artificials aren't good for your heart, and they cross the blood-brain barrier, and they kill blood cells. But now, according to Yale University last year, they finally linked it to weight gain. And now people start paying attention. What? Diet Cokes make me fat? That's not, wait, I don't understand. It doesn't have any calories. But it's not a calorie thing with artificial sweeteners. It's Yale coined it calorie dysregulation. And it's when you eat something that's sweet with no calories that your body can't calibrate that. It can't measure that. And so you usually grab for a diet soda because you're either hungry or you're thirsty, right? Well, if you're drinking it and your body can't measure that, that means the hunger hormones are still going to be up to tell you to keep eating, because it's like, wait, I think she or he's consuming something, but we can't measure this, so we must tell them to keep eating because our needs aren't being met. So that's how it leads to weight gain. That's why whenever you drink a diet soda, you can't just drink a diet soda. It's like, I think I'm going to have some pretzels, or I think I'm going to have a little bit of chips. It's not just like, oh, that hits the spot. No, because your hunger hormones are still up because it can't read anything that's in there, and you keep eating. Okay, so what really matters, I don't ever like to, you know, stay too much on what you can't have, because that's kind of a downer. What they do have is you eat grains that are gluten-free, but not the gluten-free products. And that can be a whole nother segment, because that actually leads to weight gain and bad stuff. But what you want to do is just gluten-free grains that are in their natural state, like oats and quinoa and brown rice. Also, like, you can either starchy vegetables like sweet potato. You can even do white potatoes, because there is a way, if you boil potatoes, that reduces the impact on your sugar that it causes on your sugar. If you boil them and refrigerate them, that knocks it down by 75%. So you can still have your white potatoes, you just have to cook them right. You got to boil them, and if you want them to be even less impact on your sugar, you got to refrigerate them. So it's really good for, you know, leftover mashed potatoes the next day if you pull them out of the fridge. But also high fiber foods, nuts, seeds, berries, beans. Of course, introducing healthy fats. Healthy fats have to come back, but not in like, to like swing in the whole opposite direction. I've seen some people like, they're like, you know, we finally realized, oh, we shouldn't have taken out all the fat in our diet. So let's put butter in our coffee, and let's take a tablespoon of coconut oil every night. No, that's not a good idea. You still want it in moderation, but definitely you need to incorporate like wild-caught salmon, walnuts, real butter. Margarine is total garbage. It needs to be real good grass-fed butter, or ghee. If you have some type of dairy intolerance, you want to do ghee. That's just clarified butter. And also lean proteins, any kind of lean proteins, you know. any kind of fish, chicken, beef, bison, turkey, eggs, lamb or venison, anything like that sort of stuff. And just foods that are carbohydrate wise, just foods that are low glycemic, of course, that don't have gluten in them. Sugar, when it comes to sugar, I've learned when working with diabetics, it really just has to be, and almost like with anybody, because I have a weight loss program as well, that it really just has to be like a step down thing. If sugar is that addicting, like you wouldn't tell a cocaine addict, just stop it. Okay, just quit. Like that's unrealistic. There's chemical changes going on in the brain, in the same areas of the brain, those pleasure centers are stimulated by sugar as well. And so you wouldn't tell somebody, like I said, you wouldn't tell somebody that has addicted to cocaine to just quit. No, you need help with that. You need to step down. You need to wean the body off, all that. So the same thing goes with sugar. They're used to having their sweets, or, at least to some degree. And so it's a step down from them to help wean them off, so you don't get all the headaches and the withdrawal symptoms. But of course, the best, once you get off all the sugar, the best sweetener is stevia. Stevia, hands down. Let me think what else there is. Oh, and then there's one more. Oh, alternative to the dairy. The best thing to do are nut milks. We used to all be about almond milk until we discovered cashew milk. And that's a lot creamier and more mimics milk. It still is not like a milk chug, if you like to milk chug. But if you put it in cereal, it's good that way. Trying to make sure I covered all the alternatives. One thing that's really important about the Reversing Diabetes program, and what I think is so cool, is that studies have shown that no pharmaceutical medication, over-the-counter medication, supplement has been able to touch what increased energy, better quality of sleep, and antidepressant effects than exercise does. And so exercise is crucial in this process because every single human being needs exercise. And so it's not like, I got to start working out now. No, technically we all need to work out or be active every single day. And I tell people, you just got to do what you love, or if you don't love any kind of exercise, at least do something that sounds tolerable at first, that you think you could start to like. It doesn't have to be like a 90-day program or something, extremely hardcore. Just do what you like. Because if it's supposed to be long-term, it's got to be something that you like. You're not ever going to stick to it. Like nobody is. But 30 minutes a day, at least 5 times a week. And of course you have to have a rest day, because if we don't rest, we'll get worn out. Rest is a big part of it too. Sleep is a huge, huge part of it, actually. That when people come to me, they want to just show me the diet stuff. And I'm like, and as a dietitian, I have to see like the entire picture, because we are wonderfully designed human beings and we're complicated. It's not just only food, because like if you don't get enough sleep, then your hunger hormones are going to be up, because we only get energy from 2 different sources. We get it from sleep and we get it from food and water. And if you don't get enough sleep, your body's going to be like, well, we didn't get our energy there. So it's going to increase your hunger hormone, which is ghrelin, so that you'll get more, so you'll feed your body and get more energy that way. So sleep is still a huge part of it as well. I think, okay, so whenever I teach this to my little community here, I always tell people, this is a lot to chew on. It's a lot to learn. Whatever you learn today, to just have a plan, to just change one thing, and then you'll be going in that right direction to reversing diabetes and regulating your blood sugar. When you write it down, studies have shown that we're 1,000 times more likely to actually accomplish it. So write it down. A sticky note, is an old piece of paper, whatever it is. Something about when you write it down, you're 1,000 times more likely to do it. So if you think, I can not have milk and I can, grab some cashew milk, whatever you think it is, at least you're doing, because it's all about baby steps. Nobody on the planet, makes a complete 180 and just stays in that direction. I've never met that person. No one I've ever met has met that person, from what I know. So if you make small changes, then you'll be going in the right direction. So that's all I have for that. I hope I didn't go too fast. I knew that this is this short meeting, so I wanted to give it all to you. And if there's any questions that I could answer at the end.
Well, that was great. Thank
I've
you
got a
so much. Go ahead. Who's got some questions?
I do. Listen, that was phenomenal. I so enjoyed that, and it was so educational. This is Phil Roberts, by the way. Again, thank you. My question is this. Do you find the physicians responsive to what you're sharing with them like this, or do they just blow you off?
Some of them do.
I'm a physician, okay, so it's fine to say it out there.
Some of them do. It's like they just don't go with that approach. But like I have a cardiologist in the hospital, and it's more like you have to kind of feel your patients out. Some patients, some patients, they're just like, give me some more metformin, give me some more Lantus, that sort of thing. And then you just kind of know, I'm not going to try to go the you can reverse this kind of approach, but I can just say like, it's kind of hit and miss. I don't, bring it up too much. Why don't we just teach them how to reverse this? It's such a different mentality in the hospital. But as I've done my own practice, actually, doctors that have had this same type of mentality that obviously don't have time to, sit and consult about this kind of stuff have reached out to me. And I am super excited because I do believe that minds are being changed. I really think that we're on this season is like kind of like more opening people's eyes of, hey, food can be medicine, and you can really do a lot of stuff with reversing diseases. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that was great. Again, I so appreciate it. One of the cardiologists where you work over there, who I bet would love, and you're probably working with, is Dr. Thomas Cabell. Are you working with him with this type of stuff?
That's exactly who I was talking about.
I figured it was. Thank you. Anyway,
yeah,
I love what you're doing.
Like he refers people to me, like, and he told me one time, he's like, "You're the only dietitian I know that's not drinking the Kool-Aid." And I was like, "Oh, all right, I like that." Yeah, he's wonderful. He's wonderful. Is there any more questions? I think we got like what do we have, Brian? Like 6 more minutes?
We do. We've got plenty of time for more questions.
Well, if you guys want to reach out to me, my website is truehealthrd.com. And of course, Facebook, it's facebook.com/truehealthrd. I practice locally here in Spring Hill, but all of my programs are online based. And so when I do, I have people all over the country. If you're ever interested in some of the programs and for working with me.
So how does that work? If somebody's interested in participating in your upcoming course that you're going to be offering, how would they join that? I guess the best way, so that's the thing, when you start your own practice, like I know all the dietitian stuff real well, but when it comes to like marketing and especially setting up a website, not so much. But what I usually do is mainly people who are on my page, my Facebook page, because then I will announce new programs that are coming up. And especially people that are on my email newsletter, then of course you don't miss it because Facebook just gets, crazy. Who knows what's going on that we don't see. So that's just the best way is to be on my newsletter. I usually send out newsletters like twice a month. I don't really bombard people with a lot of stuff. So that's the best way to catch up with keep up with announcements and my Facebook page. Okay. So the number one best way is going to be to go to truehealthrd.com and sign up for your newsletter. Mm-hmm. And then the second best way is going to be to go to your Facebook page. And
go to my Facebook page, and there's actually a place up there that you can actually get notifications. So if you don't want to do the newsletter part, but you want to make sure you don't miss any of my announcements, make sure at the top of that page it says get notifications so that you'll get the red thing up at the top say, hey, new announcement.
Okay. Great. And that you're thinking mid-August.
Yes.
For starting that one. Okay. Excellent.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, because summertime, people are on the beach. They don't want to worry about it. It's usually whenever they feel kind of like trash after what they've done to themselves during the summer that they, start to kick back in gear and taking care of themselves. So
yeah. How
I'll be ready.
long does it take for somebody, typically when you're working with somebody, to start seeing improvements in their diabetes?
That is very case to case. I see people that take the ball and run with it, and they really do they try to do the whole complete 180, and then I have to, try to help them take slow, that kind of stuff. And then they see dramatic results. And there's some people who just take it one bite at a time, and then it's more gradual. So it really is just person to person, really. But I mean, I always see some kind of change because, when they come to me, they're ready to do something. And so usually the changes are instant, but of course it's different for some people. Some people have more energy right off the bat. Some people lose weight right off the bat. It's just so different, but there's always changes that happened, within the first 1 to 2 weeks, because they're at least doing something. That's why I love diabetes and this, just because just the smallest changes can make such good results. And then you feel better to keep going and to make more changes. And then it just becomes, the big snowball effect.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exciting. Well, thank you so much. Anybody else have any questions? I don't want to cut it short. We still have a couple of minutes. If anybody else has some questions.
Guess everybody's good.
I guess so. Well, I've got about 3.5 pages and 2.5 pages of notes on this. So it was great. Lots of great stuff. I hope everybody else, I will send the recording out. So if anybody wants to go back and take notes on anything or review anything, they'll have access to that. And I'll put a link to your website on the post as well. So guys, thanks for being here. Thank you, Crystal. I sure appreciate you taking time out of I know you said that this is a busy time for you, trying to balance everything. I so appreciate you taking time to come and spend 30 minutes with us and give us just an overview of what you do. And it's exciting stuff to see, because so often we are told you can't reverse it and there's nothing you can do, just take the medications. And so this is, I think it just gives people hope. So thank you so much.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. It's been an honor to be here.
Yeah. Well, thank you. All right, guys. Well, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I appreciate everybody being here. And this is the last call in this series. If you're interested, we'll be doing some other calls of a similar nature. We'll be kicking those off. So let me know if you're interested in being involved in those. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.